spiritual energy coming in.
Yeah. He's with us right now.
Okay, also H has joined us here. H.
Hello, H.
Thank you. Hello, all.
Okay, so we got a lot of
Yes.
questions, but I mean, you guys had a chance to kind of acquaint yourselves with each other.
I
Gail
didn't want to
and
ask
H.
too much because I wanted to kind of see what I'd pick up. So I didn't want to ask him any, leading
okay.
questions or
Yes.
anything.
Yeah.
So is it okay? Can I see what I pick up on you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you've had an eye problem for a while.
Yes,
how
I
long has
have.
it been going on for?
I guess about half a century.
Well,
But in particular, the last half year.
well, it's funny that you say that because is it okay to give a little bit of my mediumship here?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So the first thing that I felt when you came in the room, and it sounds really odd, was 200 years ago, exactly 200 years ago, which would make it 1813, but not 1813, they're telling me 1812. There was some kind of a battle, and it's not too far from here, and you were involved in some kind of battle, and I see like cannons going off, and I see you being in charge of a lot of soldiers and seeing a lot of very horrible things. And I said we collect energy and feelings from this life, but we also can collect things from past lives, and that's when it makes it more difficult, because we're like, why did I get this? There's nothing really I can think of. Well, this eye thing has been going on actually from a past life, and I feel like something happened and you really just had such a horrible experience. You hate to look at that kind of stuff. So probably in this life you hate blood and guts, you hate anything like that, loud noises like cannons really freak you out. I don't know if you also have a thing about being in charge. Don't really like being in charge of a group of people. And it's the same kind of thing. It's this energy of, I don't want to be in that same situation anymore. I saw this horrible thing. I was put in charge of all these men. I felt like you survived and you didn't want to survive because you felt like you were in charge and all these other people. And I don't know if this is triggering anything, if it means anything to you.
It feels familiar.
It feels familiar.
And like that it is so, and like, my goodness.
Yes. And so then in this life, you carry over these feelings. And then a lot of it is, the way you would react to anything is, I don't want to look at it. Just, let's just keep blinders on and keep on, moving forward. And as you do that more and more, your eyesight's actually got worse and worse because you've had that energy stronger and stronger.
Yes.
So
I've not liked looking at ugliness and wanted to see it, translated into something more beautiful and looked for the beauty. And interestingly, even the shades now are sort of like, it allows me to see more within and have an overview without some of the other things that I struggle with.
You're very clairvoyant. And people think clairvoyant is seeing things like seeing spirits in the room, but actually it comes in our mind's eye. So actually, as your eyes have got worse, your clairvoyance has increased, and you are actually seeing a lot of things. And but you can have both. So somehow you've got this belief that, no, I'd like to do more of the clairvoyance, but you can have both. You can have this seeing eye as well, as long as you want to change that energy. And get rid of that. And also your father, I feel, was involved in that past life too. So your father was particularly difficult and kind of put you in situations wanting you to be in charge.
And to lead.
And to do that kind of thing. All the things you didn't want to do, wanting you to look at situations that were not nice.
Harsh.
Yes, and so, you had some karma with him. The good news is we can change that energy.
I'd love to.
Should we change that energy?
I'm open to it.
Okay, all right. Is that okay? Can I stand up and do a little bit of energy healing on you? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my hands right here on your third eye. And what I want you to do is imagine that you're there in this battle in 1812 and that all these horrible things are going on. And now, I don't know if you believe it or not, but just imagine it, because we want to release that energy. Are you willing to release any negative energy from there?
I am.
I'm going to open up your third eye. Okay, there you go. And what we did was I asked the spirits to come in and to help adjust his energy. And it might take a while for the physical eyes to come back, but hopefully that will start to come back. And then your part of it is also to go home and start thinking about it, even right before you go to sleep, when you can really talk to the spirits and say, just help me to release this, whatever I'm holding on to, it's not serving me anymore. The things that happen with your dad, the things that remind you in this life, just say I forgive, let's get rid of all that. And trust, because it is going to come back.
It's fascinating that you mention the War of 1812, because as a child, when I was 4, I think I had heard the 1812 overture, and I was so drawn to it, but also so horrified by it. and I never knew what to make of it.
Yeah, it's so strange, you know, and you know, sometimes, you know, people can pick up on that. If you go see a medium, then pick up on stuff like that. But even if you don't know what it is, exactly why, if you can't figure out something in this life and perhaps you think it's some past life thing, you just kind of tune in and you just talk to the spirits, the angels, whoever you believe, and you say, help me to release whatever it is. It's not serving me anymore.
Yes.
But I mean, it's great that you kind of triggered that and it brought up some kind of reminiscent memories from a long time ago, because that will really help.
It makes it much more real and also complete now, where before it was just like, oh my God, and I was stuck.
Yeah.
A part of
You
me
have
was
closure.
stuck there.
Yeah. You have some sort of closure now, right, H?
Yes, I didn't have any sort of translation of it into something, you know, useful.
Yeah. And do you have a little dog at home?
I did, Sir Dudley.
Okay.
He passed a few years ago.
Okay, well, he's still around you. Because I see him sitting on your lap and I see you petting him. So he's working, they work on our energy too and help us. So I feel like he's very much around.
Yes.
And he said it's okay to get another one. He'd like him to get another one. You know, we think, oh, well, we lost our animal and it's so sad and that would be a replacement. I couldn't do that. But they do. They want you to have another animal because you used to do fun things with Dudley.
Oh, absolutely.
And you don't do those things anymore. And if you had another animal, you could go out and walks and Dudley would come along and throw the sticks that he used to like.
And that would be incentive to get your sight back.
Give me a big hug.
Oh, you're
wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to do that on the air.
Is that similar to what we would witness with John of God? Exactly what you did, that third eye thing?
Okay, well, you see, I became a medium and was doing healing before I went to John of God.
Okay.
And I've been doing it for several years. And when I heard about John of God, I thought, oh, it's interesting because, you know, I'm a healer and maybe, I think I was thinking, oh, maybe I could help out or kind of learn something. And when I got down there, it was like, oh, you can leave your ego at the door. And I felt like, wow, I'm like here. And then we've got John of God that's like here. And so I'm this little wallflower standing there going, oh, you know. And so, yeah, I feel like what I do, I have a little bit of intuition, and I do this mediumship. But, you know, when you see John of God, it's like a million times greater. So I hope you'll also follow up and come to the event.
Thank you so much, Gail. It was just really transforming. I've had shivers and bumps, but it's also like I never knew how to handle this, and like now it's sort of having the assistance just come forward, and you know, like how. You know, I'm so humbled and grateful.
Yeah, it's strange. And you know, sometimes we say, well, why do children have issues? And a lot of time that could be from a past life, or it could be some kind of agreement that they've had with their parents. Sometimes it can be more their parents that are really receiving the lesson and need the healing more than the child. So it's difficult when you don't know exactly what it is that's happened. And when you go see John of God, it's not like you get a reading and they explain. In fact, I saw a person go up to John of God once and say, why do I have this backache? Is it because of my relationship? Is it some past life thing? And John of God looked at him and said, do you want to know why you had the backache, or would you like me just to take her away?
Good
and
point.
so he's just about, you know, doing the healing and getting rid of it, and then you go home and you do your kind of your own work with spirits. You don't really get a reading or anything like that, because it's not important why. Let's just change that, get rid of that.
Because you're also taking half the time, or you're doubling the time. And if you have all these people, you just want to really clear them all. Forget about why, because now you're there twice as long, right?
Well, the energy is so strong that as you walk up, you know, you receive that healing. He was in Switzerland a couple of months ago, and King Solomon came through, which is very rare. And they said that as people were walking up, he was just taking away their wheelchairs, taking away their walking sticks and just throwing it to the side. And these people were just getting up out of the wheelchairs and just walking off, hundreds of them.
Wow.
And then in the afternoon, the spirit Jose Valdivino came through, and he was just passing everybody by. And they said, sir, is everything okay? You're not calling anybody for invisible surgeries? He said, oh, no, King Solomon fixed everybody this morning. I don't have any work to do.
That's nice. Gets a chill. So I have a question. Or you can ask.
No, you go.
Okay.
Oh, wait. No, yeah. Okay. See, I have my clues here. Go ahead.
Okay. In the video, we saw that everybody has to wear white.
Mm-hmm.
What is the reason?
The spirits ask that everybody wears white so that when they go up in front of him, they can read the energy. And they can more clearly read the energy and see what it is that you need fixing and fix you like that. So it's about this.
So you can see the energy more with white, the color of white, than if I were to wear a pink shirt or a blue shirt.
That's what the spirits say, that they can see it. So, you know, in my work, I don't ask that. And, you know, if you're at John of God, if you go to Brazil, you don't have to wear white all the time, but when you're going in front of the spirits, they ask that you wear white. And so in Toronto, they ask that everybody wears white because it's just easier for the spirits to be able to work on you.
Interesting, interesting. Wow.
Yes, very interesting. Okay. All right. Okay. Here's a question. Now, this was Sandra's question, but I have a different version of it, so I'll try to ask them both. So Sandra was asking, so when John says that it's God that's working through him, like, what is John's vision of God? And my question is, because a lot of people are a little bit critical of channeled spirits, right? Because that sometimes they're not necessarily maybe always working in the best interest of people. And so with John working with so many, how do we know that they're all well-intentioned and working for everybody's best interest?
And that's true, because, you know, there are spirits that are not so good. They're around us, you know.
Yeah.
When we pass away and we go to the other side, we don't all of a sudden become all angels. There are, you know, there are good ones and not so good ones on the other side too. And John of God sets up like a protection zone. Okay. So when he comes to Toronto, he comes in a day earlier, and he actually sets up a protection, an energy. And that's why we've actually rented the entire convention center, so that there's no other energies that could possibly come in, because he comes in and he actually sets the energy and he puts up a protection. And then during the time that he's doing the sessions, there are thousands of beautiful spirits that come in, and a lot of them are working on that, making sure that only good energies come in. And there are also mediums that come from Brazil and from all over that he's handpicked that work with him. So these mediums actually sit current, they sit energy, and their job is also to make sure that they're channeling, you know, beautiful energies. So my experience is when I've gone to Brazil and been in they're always beautiful energies.
Wow.
Other places I felt not so good, but around John of God, they're always amazing. And the ones that come through him, there are a number that are kind of regular ones that come through him, but they're all very, very high light beings that work through him.
And as to the first part of the question, what is John's of God's vision of what God is?
Well, John of God is Catholic,
right?
And so you will see he'll have
like
a few, you know, pictures of maybe a cross, but few pictures of Jesus and Mary around, and he has them. When you go to the casa in Brazil, it looks a little bit like a Catholic chapel. There's definitely Catholic pictures, but that's, you know, his traditional view of God. But he says, you know, whatever is your view of God. At the beginning, he says the Lord's Prayer, but he says you pray however you feel. If you pray to Buddha, or you open to the angels, or you don't, you know, just whatever you believe in. And so I think, you know, his vision is God as a Catholic vision would be, but it is whatever you believe. Because again, it is your opening with what you believe. So if you believe in Buddha, it's probably Buddha that's going to be opening you and doing the healing. If you believe in God.
And it's really important to clarify that, I think, in a city like Toronto, because Toronto is so multicultural. And, you know, when you do say the word God, there's a lot of different inferences that come up because we're so multicultural. So that's why I really want to address that question. So
some people prefer the term divine source, which kind of means like, you know, an energy, all-knowing oneness. But I think most people that go believe that there is some higher power.
Yes.
And I think that's what it's about. It's the higher power that is doing the healing. And it's really your connection with that higher power, and it's opening you up to receive your own healing. It's not like he's kind of giving you something. He's helping you to connect.
So, Gail, I wonder if you can, what you did for Hilton was so fabulous. I know Sandra has a lot of serious issues, too.
He's just trying to get back to me. Okay, on that scale, when we had Kathy True here, on that scale of vibration, you were 6, I was higher than 6. So there.
No, you guys are pretty healthy. Your grandfather is around you a lot. Your father's father. Now, your father's still alive, or has he passed on?
No, he's
still alive.
Yeah.
Okay, but your grandfather's saying that your father, grandfather says he's just kind of old school. He doesn't believe in a lot of this stuff. It's kind of hard to show his feelings like a lot of dads in that era. And so your grandfather's kind of behind you and helping you and loves this communication. I don't know if your grandfather did something with communication, but he's so excited about you.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's so excited about you being here on the radio. And he said, you're pretty healthy. Now, you have a little dog at home?
I don't. I have
a cat. Okay. And you have more around in spirit, but you have one cat that you lost that was, he was a little bit like, felt like he was this great healer cat. very important. Felt like he'd been with you in Egypt at some time. Was a little standoffish with most people. So
that would be my King Jordan.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so King Jordan is the one that's around you a lot and helps you. And he's actually sitting over your shoulder watching on your computer. You've got something on your computer screen that kind of goes along like that he likes to sit and watch. But he wants to take credit for some of the things you're doing. He says you're going to write a book eventually. And he's helping you. He gives you kind of intuition. And you can talk to him a little bit more. He says the other one that you have now is just pet.
But he's approved of him, right?
Yes. Oh, no, he's approved of him.
Okay.
He's a healing one, so he comes around, sits on your lap.
So then King Jordan must be really impressed because when I say on my website I put my greatest teachers, he's the first picture.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so, yes. So
he must really approve of that.
He does. He does. He feels like he's the one showing you the way, and he's going to be the one writing this book. So you better give him a little credit in that book.
You know what? It's funny, Gail, because we always, when he was alive, we always used to say bow to the king. Whenever we walked in the house, we would bow to the king. So, so it's very true. It's very, very appropriate. Hi, King.
That's really cool. Okay.
It is. Thank you.
Could I have one question for you, Gail. From the work that you've already done with me, my father's name, he's still alive, his first name is Milan, M-I-L-A-N, Milan. And he's been suffering, grave health over the last number of years and is currently in the hospital. And he's been at death's edge, being in a coma. And through all the years of my life, there was a distance or a gap that I never understood with him, ever since I can first remember. And in this last half year, I've come to discover that a number of things, and I'm wondering if you're picking up anything.
Well, as people get older and they get closer to the other side, there often is that reconnection. You have both been working on your karma. He's been working on the karma with you as well. And so he wants to have that reconnection, hopefully, before he leaves, just as much as you would like to resolve some things.
Yes.
Because you had some very difficult past lives, especially during this battle. And so it'd be nice if you can talk, but sometimes it's not always just about actually talking.
Yes.
Sometimes it's the unsaid, words too. And I feel like there's been times when he's been laying in a coma.
Yes.
And you've been talking in your mind and he's been hearing.
Yes.
So even if you're just kind of saying it in your mind when he's there and just releasing some of this stuff and try to get out some of this stuff, work it out between you. And also even when relatives have passed over, you can still kind of connect up there with them and tell them, I'd like to finally resolve this. I'd like to talk about this, and why do we have this feeling between us? And he wants it just as much as you want it.
We've both already experienced that in the last few months, and I feel incredibly complete with him.
Yeah.
And as it seems he does with me. There was doubt on his mind, that I found out and never knew. That he questioned whether I was his blood son. And I actually had that thought from the time I was a child, wherever that was picked up, and didn't understand our relationship and why we were in each other's lives. And I've recently found out that indeed I am his blood son. And there was.
I feel that comes from the past life when you were in the battle. He was actually a lot higher up than you, and you felt very guilty and very terrible about all the things that had happened. And he was like, "How can you be like this? You need to do this and this and this." And so in this life, it's like, well, is he really my son? My guy would act like this. My guy would do this the way he did it. And so there's a lot of feeling of you didn't act out the way back then, and in this life you didn't act out exactly the way he wanted you. He wanted you to be tough.
Yeah.
Stand up, be a leader, do this. And there's a feeling of why? Well, if you don't do that, you're not my guy. You're not my soldier. You're not my son.
Yes, and I was super sensitive, and there was this huge difference or rift.
Yeah.
And that's all been healed. And there were times now where I've just visited him in the hospital and just put my head down on his chest, and at times he helped me, and there were no words, but there was so much completion. Other times there were words that were completing and healing. So all this has happened, and I couldn't have imagined in my entire lifetime that this would ever have occurred between my father and I.
Yeah, and a lot of things he kept in his mind.
Yeah,
and so that's why he's got head problems. Is because a lot of that stuff was in his mind going over and over, and he would just never spit it out, talk about it.
Wow. Thank you so much for this clarification and completion here. Just like,
thank you.
My goodness.
Thank you. It's nice that you would share on camera too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that when you say the other side, you don't use the word death, and I think that's amazing because it's a totally different perspective, right?
Well, I think after I became a medium and doing the animal communication, it really did show me a whole different world. You know, when you lose an animal, it's always terrible, but then when you know that they're around you and they even sometimes come back in life, you feel better about it. And when you know that your loved ones, they're really there and you really can talk to them. Yes, you miss them. I mean, you can never replace that feeling, but it's still nice to know that there is a place and that they're up there waiting for you.
And you know what I was told? I know we have to go, but I was told that you know, when you cross over to the other side, all your loved ones come to greet you. But if you had a lot of animals, they have to fight through the animals because they're the first line of defense. That's what I was told. So it's a party central.
Yeah, usually when your dog passes away, it's probably up there with grandma or mom or somebody else.
Yeah. And he's the first one to get to you, so you know they have to kind of sit and wait because, or try to get through the animal, or get around the dog.
Legs so they can run faster.
That's true too. That's true too. That's true too.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
One of the things I noticed in the film is when you were interviewing John of God, where he says, at one point he says, we're all getting closer to God. And so we're talking about past lives with us as individuals, but what about us as a collective human species? You know, are we all getting closer to God, or where are we headed?
I think he means that we're all kind of becoming more aware that there is this whole world, that we don't really die, that we do stay around, that we're all kind of opening up to that and seeing that more and more people are starting to realize that it's not the end and that there is something out there and that there is this supreme being or this energy up there that's healing, and that it's not so cut and dry anymore, that there is more out there and we're more getting in touch with our spirituality. And
maybe you know, at some point we'll be able to do exactly what he's doing too. Maybe he's trying to empower in that sense too, because he's got a tough job.
I think we can all do it. You know, if some people really just have that strong connection, that faith, and they can just sit and pray and it works for them, or you know, they just have deep enough intention that they know they can visualize. You know, for most of us, we need a little help in that area. But I think we're getting closer and closer to believing.
Understanding that.
Okay, so let's talk about, we're running out of time here, but let's talk about the John of God in Toronto event and how people can participate. Let's kind of paint a picture for people.
Okay, well, John of God's coming March 15th, 16th, and 17th, and you can buy a ticket for one day or for all 3 days. And the way it works is when they come in the morning, we split them into 2 groups, and each person gets to go in front of John of God. So the first half of the day, they might be sitting in meditation with him, and the second half, they would go and see him, go in front of him, or the other way around. So it's a full day, and even when they're sitting in meditation, the hall is set up, and there are actually spirits around that are working on people. And we'll have musicians and people talking and doing guided meditations. It's all about kind of opening it up and helping to prepare them.
Okay.
And then when they go in front of John of God, they'll line up and go in front of John of God. And it's pretty quick. I mean, you kind of want, it'd be nice if you could sit and chat with him and have him do like a personal healing and reading. It is pretty quick. You just kind of go in front of him, but the results are amazing. And of those people, as they come up, he will decide if they are fixed from wherever they want. And people hold in their mind, you know, if they want to, I would like to have my back fixed, I have this problem with my relationship, I have some financial stress. You just kind of hold in your mind what it is that you'd like to heal. And as you walk up, they actually will work and work on those things. And if he feels like, you know, you need a little extra, then he'll say, okay, this person here, I want to put you, and we'll do a spiritual intervention, and those people will do an invisible surgery, which is really just like a little meditation room. And he comes in, he does like a blessing, like a prayer. And people that are a little bit more sensitive, they feel it, maybe sense the spirits around working on them. And then they go back to their hotel room, or they go back home, and they rest for the rest of the afternoon. And the spirits actually work on them at home.
Wow. Okay.
And I had one of these invisible surgeries, and I actually felt them. I actually saw them coming, and they would come in and out, and they'd, you know, fix a little bit, and then somebody else would come in. And they say that they can do up to 9 spiritual surgeries, so that's a spiritual intervention.
Wow.
But he may just say, okay, no, the energy's enough, and you're good. But the results are pretty miraculous. But it's not really so much about the physical healing. I mean, lots of people are going to come that, you know, have cancer, are in wheelchairs, you know, some terrible medical conditions. But there'll also be people there that just, you know, want to come and experience. There'll be healers there that will get more psychically in touch, will be more open. There'll be people that come that have emotional problems that will feel better. But everybody just gets this uplifting feeling.
Why would, it sounds to me like it's a one-day thing. Going for one day is enough, correct?
Well, you can just go for one day, but to be honest, I tell people every day that you go, you'll experience something different.
Okay.
So it's very rare that he would come here to Toronto. We don't know if he'll come back. We don't know how long he can actually do this and travel. And to be able to actually go in front of a spirit and do this is amazing. I would go for all 3 days, and if it was me, I would, maybe the first day I'd hold intention of this physical thing I'd like to work on. Maybe the next day I'd have the intention of this relationship, this thing at work, this finances, and maybe the third day I want to work on friends and loved ones. And I'd actually bring photographs and put them in my handbag, photographs of loved ones and names. But I would maybe choose different things you want to work on each day. But people say that they experience so much and so many different things. You could spend a month down there and not get bored. So even though the program is basically the same, what you experience is very different. And I mean, unless you can really just afford to go for one day, I mean, he's here. He's probably not coming again for a long time. So I would go for all 3 days if you can.
So for people who want to follow up, what's the best way for them to get tickets or to see John of God?
johnofgodlive.com is the site, and there's lots of information on there. And
how many people are you expecting to come through? If it's the whole Metro Convention Center, I would think that would be a lot of people.
Well, we're expecting to 10 to 12,000 over 3 days, so 4,000 or 5,000 a day.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, and he can handle that.
Well, it'll be a whole day thing, and of course you split into 2 groups, and then there's a whole lunch that's included.
Well, that's another question. Do people need to bring food?
No, lunch is included. There's actually a blessed soup, which is part of the treatment, blessed vegetable soup, but then there'll be a whole luncheon. So it's a whole day experience.
Wow.
And there will be some, there'll be crystals that he brings from Brazil and some other things that are there.
Wow, that sounds like just amazing. Like an amazing experience.
Now, if people want to see the movie or get the book in the meantime, maybe find out a little bit more, what's the best way for them to do that?
Okay, my site is gailthackray.com. It's just my name, gailthackray.com. And also, my book is available on Amazon, and my other books, ones about animals too, are on Amazon.
Okay, great. Well, Gail, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
So
Thank you so much.
And thank you for giving us your demonstration on each.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay, so